Doing. So today we're going to talk about out of one of the chapters of my book, House Safety, and we're going to do the windows. So a couple things. I mean, everyone takes windows for granted, but I do a lot of cases, and windows need to be protected from kids. They shouldn't be able to climb up to windows. Additionally, I've had a case where a kid was playing teeter-totter with new mattress and the bedboards, and the kid flew right out the window. So you want to make sure there's also these lock and mechanisms on windows on the sides. Make sure they work. Make sure you can lock the windows, and then make sure that kids can't get near them or play near them. Another thing is, in the book I get a lot more detail on this stuff, but you want to make sure that you've got tempered glass, especially large pieces of glass. Tempered just means that if the window breaks, it can shatter, okay? And a lot of times in the corners of the windows, it'll say tempered glass. That's tempered glass, that's not glass. And when you clean the glass, sometimes kids run through the glass, and I've had cases where kids would run right through sliding door glasses. Additionally, you want to make sure that you've got tempered glass for large windows. Any window that's at I think it's 18 inches, and I've got all those numbers in my book. 18 inches from the ground, floor up where kids can get to. Also the shower doors and any large window, egress windows as well. Shower doors. Now this is this different kind of shower door, but they have the typical shower tub doors. Those got to be checked too. Sometimes the rollers get bad on those, and those fall down. And I've had cases where they break people's toes, and so especially like in rental houses and old houses. Now windows also have ropes, locks, okay. And I've had cases where people have got their fingers cut off, tips of their fingers. I have damaged my fingers a lot on homes with doors. The old house doors, with doors. Let's jump back to the windows. Is glazing. When wind blows and the window falls out, what if someone's near that? So check all the glazing and the push points, especially on old windows. The other issue with the windows today isn't so much about push points and glazing. It's if they're pre-1978, they have lead. And so I've got a whole section in my book about lead, or you could look it up. You really need to be certified for lead. You can't burn, scrape. You can scrape, dry scrape, or wet scrape, but you can't sand or burn, and you have to take a lot of precautions when you're dealing with windows. Also, another thing on the windows are the ropes and also the shades and the screens or anything that has any ropes that are dangling. And there are numerous strangulations that occur on windows per year in America. So we'll jump from windows. So we talked a little bit about windows, and now we'll jump to stairs. Stairs, the biggest problem with stairs is people trip on them, mostly because they trip on things. So don't put stuff on stairs. And stair treads, if you've got stair treads, they're rubber and they get loose. People have heels, and the heels get caught on them. Sometimes the stair carpets are loose and people slip on them, so check those out. And this is one of the biggest problems are these people like these sunken in living rooms. And what's funny is I happen to have one right here. And you believe it or not, the first night I was taking care of my mom, the first night she stayed here, she started wandering because she was hungry at 2 in the morning, and guess what? She fell down the steps and broke her shoulder. And that was a $12,000 bill for her. And so these are not good designs. Some people like to light them up. I've been involved in a lot of cases with these types of designs. If they're dark and they don't stand out and they're painted differently, it could be a problem. Now I've done Now we'll get to the stair landings. Okay, stair landings. Sometimes, especially in older homes, you walk and you open a door, and this doesn't even exist. I had a case where they had a party and it was dark and the lights were dark in the stairs, and all this stuff, by the way, is in my book. And it's a small section My book is like 400 pages, and it's called Fix Your Toxic Home and Live Longer. This is just part of chapter 6 called House Safety. They would just step on here and fall bam down the steps. And this particular guy was paralyzed. Also, stairs are supposed to have the proper width, the proper height. And if the heights aren't the same, exactly the same within an eighth of an inch, normalcy you go boom, 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 you step down, da, 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 and then a step is a little bit shorter, bam, you fall down because your brain isn't thinking right. You have, I call it unfamiliar stepping condition is what I call it. And this could be anywhere. It could be outside stairs, inside stairs. The most notorious are the old houses in Cleveland and any of these older homes in the 1900s, 1940s, singles and doubles, like in our very dense areas. Those houses, a lot of them that were also brought in by trains by Sears, those steps, the bottom steps rot out, and the bottom step's always the wrong size. People fall all the time on those. So, check out your stairs. Another thing is handrails. You need handrails. And, little toddlers are going to climb up. And let's say if these things are loose, he's going to slide down, right? If you've got rubber treads and they're loose, they're going to slide down. Now, what about steep stairs? People like to make their own stairs. You got to be careful. These are good stairs here, okay? And in my book, it tells you what you should have, what you shouldn't have. And here's the deal. If you have stairs that are on your property and they're not like sidewalks are a problem. So if you slip on sidewalks, and I have a section of the book on that, we're not going to cover that today. If you slip on ice on the sidewalks, if the dog walker's going every single day, he knows that he's going to have a hard time suing you, okay? Or if the sidewalk isn't level. But let's say the stairs are on your property and the Girl Scout cookie is coming, Girl Scout is selling you cookies, and she only comes there, once a year, and she trips. Maybe you got something going on there, okay? Well, if anything, it's going to cost you a ton of lawyer fees, especially if she gets hurt. So these are good stairs, and it tells you the risers, and you can look you don't need my book to look up numbers, but my book is kind of nice because it just covers everything. How you could just live longer in your home by not making mistakes. Now look at this. The book also covers things on ramps. Now look at this. This is good. These are dangerous. These are all dangerous. For example, these stair rails are no good. They're not even properly sized, okay? And it should be 2, 3, 4 inches, whatever. The kid's going to fall out that way. And look at it. What's going to happen here is going to fall out that way. Now that's pretty damn stupid. Oh, they even put a handicap. Can you imagine a guy coming down there with a? How's that even going to work? That's got to be a joke, But there are rules on. I've had golfers, okay, they're going from putting greens, or they're going to cross little lakes and bridges, and the ramps are too steep. And if they're too steep, they need handrails. If they're not steep enough, they're probably okay. They're walking surfaces. But if they're ramps, they have to follow. You can't have a ramp at an excessive angle, okay? And you got a lawsuit. You're in an airport. You used to see other ramps. They got them all labeled, and they got the caution stickers when they're not, when they're cleaning them, or when they're wet, when the roofs are leaking. And so ramps are a huge problem if they're not built right. Okay, now the handrails. I love the handrails. Hey, thanks for coming on. I see a few people came on to. Just so you know, what I'm doing is I'm trying to promote my book, so I'm just going to pick chapters and do a bunch of videos. So this one's going to be just the beginning of chapter 6, House Safety. We'll call it House Safety 1. And I'll do the rest of the chapter. I'll do the rest of the safety chapters, so that you'll see all the things as far as safety in your home. But there's other things to consider. You have electrical issues and all kind of stuff, right? Mold and dust and a lot of things. So rails, you got to find studs. You can't have rails loose on the wall. They hit the rails, they pull out. People sometimes take them down because they want to move in and move beds and stuff, and refrigerators. They don't put them back up. And then a guest comes over and he slips. Another rail is not acceptable. Homemade rails like 2x4s or rails that have splinters. I've had rails, case studies where rails, I had a woman, an overweight woman on a deck, and she was leaning over to grab a watermelon. And as she was leaning over, grabbing the watermelon, the rail broke and she fell over, and she broke. I think it's been a while. I do a lot of trip and falls. I think this one was like, I don't know, 20 years ago, and I think she broke an arm or an elbow, and some fingers. And so make sure the rail, and they got to be properly attached to the home, especially decks. But second floor decks, man, those are huge. You want a second story deck, you better make sure no one's going to fall through the floor. You got to make sure there's going to be no splinters on the rails. And then after 20 years, you know that thing's rotten out. My brother had an old deck and he fell through it, and he was sitting in a bed for like 3 4 months because of that. And a lot of times, especially if people are overweight and the wood gets weak, you got to check it out and make sure they're safe. And if you're going to do handles, don't make stuff up like this. I mean, this is okay. Maybe if you want to use this for temporary construction site, but you're going to need handrails on both sides, so kids don't fall over and lean out. Anyway, so that's just a little small section, a little 10-minute video. I'm going to make, we'll go hit, the next thing what we'll do is we'll do a video on, this is just on safety rails, ramps, and we're going to do snow trip falls, we'll do furniture shelves, and let's see what else we'll do. We'll do appliances, okay? And I'll do that in the next hour. Hey, thanks for coming on. Please rate, subscribe. I got a bunch of books I've been publishing. This book is called Fix Your Toxic Home and Live Longer. You can just go to Amazon, pick it up. I'd appreciate it. Thank you very much. Please rate, subscribe if you like the book. Please give me an Amazon to tell you what you think about the book. And I am going through the book right now and checking it out because I don't really hire people anymore to do editing. I do all my own stuff. So I'm going to change stuff like here. I said youngsters. I'm going to change that word. So in a couple of months, I'll redo the book a little bit and just change some of the words. But it's perfect the way it is. Hey, thanks for coming on. Please rate, subscribe, and share.